two verses, the fifth and the sixth verses, are the well-known verses uh, with adoration of Shiva. I'll just read the Sanskrit and I'll read the translation. Ya te Rudra Shiva Tanura Ghora Papakashini Taya Nastanuva Shantamaya Girisanta Bichakashihi. That's the fifth one. Sixth one. Yamishum Girishantam Haste Vibharshastave Shivam Giritratam Kurumahikam Shi Purusham Jagata. We had the first, the fourth verse spoken about God as a kind of a personalized God. These two verses are, the well-known verses in the. It's called a praise to Shiva in the Rudrashtakam. These verses are found also in the Taittiriya Samhita and Vajasenia Samhita, the old parts of the Vedas. And we have seen why is trying to kind of bring in some of the older parts of the Vedas uh, to show, firstly, that there is a kind of a continuity of the philosophical thoughts. And secondly, it also means a kind of an authentication. He wants to authenticate that these are experiences which have been authenticated by past seers of truth. So these two, O Rudra, through that holy form which you have, which is not terrifying and which reveals virtue, through that most joyous form of yours, O Girishanta, please look at us. O Girishanta, the arrow which you hold in hand was shooting. Make that auspicious, O Giritra. Do not injure any person of ours and the world.
Could you please repeat?
Yes, O Rudra. That's the personal aspect of God that the sage is addressing him to. Through that holy form which you have, which is not terrifying and which reveals virtue, through that most joyous form of yours, O Girishanta, please look at us. We have been speaking about, the sage has been speaking about the the personal God. Now, in Indian metaphysics, the personal God means the sum total of all personalities in the world. That's Ishvara. That's it is not a kind of a. We also have the very personal gods, as I say.
Ishta?
Yes, it's the like in the forms of Shiva, or you can say Vishnu or Ramakrishna or any other forms. Uh, if you were there yesterday, you could have. Uh, the Swami was talking about Maya, and what happened? Like Shri Ramakrishna also says, like, God is with form, He is without form, and He is even beyond form and formlessness, and He is so much more that you even cannot imagine. Okay, so to the devotees, God takes the personal form, that is the Ishta form, the form of a particular deity from that impersonality. We have the idea, this two things are there. Why do we need to pray to a kind of a personalized personal God? Uh, One is for grace. We've seen that the third chapter began with a lot of prayers. A lot of us think that we can go and straight get into the higher forms of meditation without a kind of a grounding. And uh, we find that it's not so easy. So we need prayers to first to prepare ourselves, and secondly, for the deity to be gracious enough. This reminds me of when the Vedanta guru of Sri Ramakrishna first came to Dakshineshwar. He saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting down on the steps of, the river, the bathing ghat. And he looked at him and he was struck. Oh, you're such a high aspirant for Vedanta. And he was surprised that such an aspirant can be found in Bengal. That's a state where there's a lot of tantras and nyaya, logic. It's very pervasive. The worship of the Divine Mother is very pervasive there. And it's a derivative of the tantric literature, not the Vedic literature. Though most of the mantras in the tantras have been incorporated from the Vedas. So it's saying, do you want to practice Vedanta? So he said, I don't know. I'll go and ask my mother. And first, the monk thought, oh, maybe he's got his mother. But he seen him going to the temple and he was amused. He goes to the temple and the Divine Mother is there, manifest in that form. They're saying, Mother, that monk, yes, yes, I've brought him here. He's going to teach you and learn from him. So he comes. He says, yeah, I'll go through the process. And the monk now really smirks. Hmm. These are all delusive forms. And this person has grown up in that kind of culture. So it's okay. His delusion will be dispelled. And they go through the initial rituals. He's saying, but mm, let's not make it public. We do it privately. And then goes through the initial rituals of uh, sannyasa, that is to become a monk. And then we know that he wanted Sri Ramakrishna to meditate, and he got into meditation, experienced the highest. And his work was done, the monk. He never lived more than 3 days in one place. And he was a thorough idealist. For him, the external world did not exist at all. It was a kind of a mirage. And to prove it, he never lived under a roof. He always had in India, we have these monks. They'll have their mats and they'll go and spread it out under the tree and then they will live out there. Light a kind of a small sacred fire and meditate in front of it. So, and they used to discuss Vedanta and as usual, after 3 days, saying, no, no, you wait for some more time. Sri Ramakrishna is telling. And since he had such a wonderful disciple, and he kept on delaying his departure. And it so happened that he had a very strong physique and a strong constitution. But in those unhealthy areas, he fell sick. That is, he had colic pain. He could detach his mind from the body and plunge it into meditation and forget her. But as the pain kept on increasing, and it's almost now 11 months. So, and he wasn't too bothered. One time he said, every time I went to tell Ramakrishna that now I'm leaving, and like something was always pressing his tongue. And they should talk on some spiritual topics and he used to forget. Say, oh, I'll tell him tomorrow. And then the same thing happened. So one night he was meditating in the dark of the night. He should light his sacred fire and meditate. As he was meditating, the pain was dragging his mind down. He tried to lift the mind up again, plunge it into meditation. It could. Couple of times he tried, he got disgusted. "Oh, why should I bother? He said. I have realized that I am not the body. I'll discard it. And there is a rule for monks, for the highest monks, that you can discard your body if you want to, after realization, that is. Not before that. Not- So he, there was a huge river there, the river Ganga. He climbed down the stairs and he waded in the water. Yes. As he waded, that river is massive. And as he's wading, he went almost midway and found the water right only up to his ankles. What's wrong? And he waded even further, saying, there's not enough water for me to give off my body. And suddenly, kind of a veil was pulled out of his mind, and he's seen the universal form of the Divine Mother. Beautiful, illuminating darkness. And he went into kind of ecstasy. Mother is in the water, mother is in the land, mother is life, mother is death, mother is pain. And he was kind of in an ecstatic mood. And he felt so good about it. He came back. He's saying, then he realized that you can't take a single step without the will of the mother. It wasn't mother's will. He waited back. There was pain, but he came and sat down in front of his sacred fire, and he kept on chanting the mother's name. The one stern monk who never even acknowledged the external world, never acknowledged the divine mother, that is Maya aspect of Brahman. He was all devotion. Ramakrishna came in the morning and found him chanting the mother's name, and his face was bliss. Then he understood. Yes, now you tell your mother to let me go. Okay. Saying Ramakrishna also said, yes, now you realized that's the great mother with a power called Maya. She creates the world when she wants it. She destroys it when she wants it. She doesn't ask anyone what ought to be done or not to be done. So this power of Maya is a repository of innumerable powers. Innumerable. You cannot even imagine. So when he saw the universal form of the mother, he also at the same time saw the personalized form of that mother as most probably as Kali. So here we are. This is a kind of a prayer that was waiting to be uttered even before he could begin his spiritual disciplines. But then we cannot blame him because he was trained like that from a very young age to, you know, believe that the external world is a kind of a show, a delusion. It does not exist. What exists is the reality called Brahman. But that this power could exert an influence over him, Mother never revealed herself to him as he kept on practicing the disciplines. And then it was time, and he understood then that Shiva and that Shakti are the dual aspects of that one reality. So yesterday we were talking about Maya, and it has innumerable aspects. I said that the very mind that you try to understand this reality called Maya is itself made from Maya. The stuff itself is Maya. So you cannot understand until and unless the Divine Mother just lifts the curtain a bit and shows you the reality. Otherwise, it's not possible. Through your own efforts, no. You need grace. Absolutely, you need grace to understand the reality. And this is what the sage is speaking about. He's using the masculine form of that divine mother. Now, divine, he says divine mother. There was one person who saw the image of Durga with all her hands and wearing a sacred thread. And he's saying, "Oh, how come? Because only males use that sacred thread around their shoulders." So another person came, "Oh, I see, you can understand mother. I've never understood whether mother is male or female. Mother is mother." So, yeah. So, mother has innumerable aspects in her. The whole universe rests in her. Okay. So, this Rudra, through that holy form which you have, which is not terrifying, she can project a terrifying form, and she can project a benign form, the auspicious form. That terrifying form of hers was seen by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita when he sees the universal form of God and he got terrified. What is this? Yeah, everybody thinks like God is like can be God with a few chocolates. Yeah. And if you have that devotion, God does appear, but without that majesty, without that cosmic dimension, will come and play, you know, something like that.
You mean if you have the devotion toward the benign form?
Yes.
Then
To the benign form, it will come as a benign form. But we must not think that that's the only form. Because when mother is creating, preserving, destroying, she has to do certain things that we may smashing everything, recreating things. So this is where you say the sage says, through that most joyous form of yours, O Girishanta, please look at us. Why look at us? When God looks at us, obviously, we look at, if somebody is looking at you, we tend to look at that person. Isn't that? Yeah. So, yeah. So, this is how we orient ourselves toward the reality. Look at me. Can't you see me? I'm in such a state where I'm being praying to you. And so the sage says, look at me. And so please look at me. So that I can look at him. And then I can understand what the deity is made of. So the first thing one realizes is, uh, as you keep on meditating, the individual soul. Okay? As you keep on plunging into yourself, you realize first the individual soul. Then you find that it is part of the cosmic soul, universal soul. So you give up that universal, that individual identity of yours and get down to the cosmic soul. Then you find that the cosmic soul has got also the creation and everything within it. You identify yourself with the whole of creation and the reality behind creation. And then you leave that off, you plunge even further, and you go beyond all names and forms. You go beyond the universe. Where is all this? It's somewhere there. No, it's here within you as you keep on going inside. How do you do it? Yes, that is, you plunge or you immerse your senses in the mind in the intellect in the individual soul, and the individual soul in the universal soul, and the universal soul in the higher, you can say, aspect of Godhead. It's a kind of it's a reverse process.
Swami, I was reading in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna said, after realizing that highest reality, the body only lasts for 21
21 days.
except for, I think he said, except for incarnations. I'm not sure, but clarify that.
Yes, yes. Many people think, oh, I've had samadhi and I've been in samadhi for 6 months. I said, oh, that's because what happens is the mind is no longer there in your body. The vital force or the life force is no longer present in your body.
In the highest samadhi.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And the intellect also is not there. There's nothing there. What remains is a kind of a little heat from the previous, you can say, like before you could get into samadhi, you were living in this body and then you transcend the body. A little of that heat remains in the body. It's like, when a person dies, but then still his hair and probably nails also keep on growing.
Mm.
And there's something called a Lazarus reflex. It's like a person is there, okay, you suddenly will do it, dead body. Uh, if the nerves are oxygenated, if the kind of Hmm. Yeah, it becomes stiff. But then even before the rigor mortis sets in, yeah, that's called the Lazarus reflect. Lazarus was the person who Jesus Christ uh, made him rise from the dead. So that's
Will you say that one more time for me?
sorry.
Will you say that one more time? Larger.
Lazarus reflects.
Lazarus.
Lazarus reflects. That's well, you just look it up. I'm sure it's there.
So for any of us, as an ordinary person, we would perish if we
You
actually
would just get a glimpse of that infinity, kind of timelessness, and that's enough for you. You'll descend down. You don't need to wait for 21 days. Most of us, they get a glimpse of that and come down. And if you don't, within 21 days, tata, bye bye.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. But then, why should you bother? We can live even beyond the mind. Yesterday we had gone to this mayor's breakfast, at the Getty House, and I was just talking to somebody and said, how can you know God? I said, no, you cannot know God. You can't know God because you are limiting him or her through your mind. What is encapsulated by the mind is limited. God, out of his grace, yes, he comes. Okay, fine. You want to see me as Kali? Look at me. If you want to see me as Durga, look at me. Yeah, this is what I am. So we can exist beyond the mind. In fact, we actually exist beyond the mind and beyond the body. Somehow that consciousness has got enmeshed in this. As simple as that. Do we exist? Yes, we can exist. We do exist on the level of consciousness. But what about my individual? Your individual existence is a kind of a faint memory. When you get into that higher stage and you come down a little, a kind of a faint memory because you remember your name and you don't come out of samadhi and say, what's this? And what's it's not a relearning process. As they will say, who wants to get into samadhi? It's a kind of a crackpot come out. Yeah. So the language, identity, and everything is retained. But you know the difference between the reality and the mirage, and you play with play along. No, I'm different. It's like the usual example is that the king has lost his mind and he's searching for the king, and then somebody gives him a blow on the head. What happened? What were you searching? Oh, I'm the king. Yes, you are the king. It's like that kind of a something happens and oh, I am that consciousness, and that is a kind of awakening. You awaken. So these bodies and these minds and these intellects and this and that is on the very low scale of existence. We can. How do we interact? You don't know what happens there. So it's a tremendous experience. Tremendous. It blows away all your conceptions about the world, about yourself, about even God. You see God there as God is, in a way. They say you cannot know the whole of God. Sri Ramakrishna is saying, if I go to a shop and I don't need to know how much liquor is here, I can get drunk with a bottle. Why do you need to? Somehow get to know God, and God, if he likes or if he wants you, he will show you around. Give the example of Shuka was one of the greatest of all monks. Shuka. He was the son of Veda Vyasa who wrote the Mahabharata. And he was born perfect. Shuka was born perfect. And so he merely touched the water of reality. Shiva, we are talking about Shiva. I'm calling my friend. So, Rudra Shiva. He just takes a handful of that water and sips it and becomes Shiva, dead. Narada was a great divine sage. He sees the reality from distance and gets so frightened he runs away. We think we can know the whole of it. We can never know the whole of it. We can become. the whole of it. That's the, you can say, highest metaphysical, you can say, point where you reach. So it goes through this process of look at me, oh God, look at me. And I orient myself to the truth. And I approach you and saying, you reveal to me your auspicious form, the benign form. That's the idea. So the next verse also speaks about that. Oh Girishanta, the arrow which you hold in hand for shooting, make that auspicious. What arrow? Yeah, the conception of Shiva is like, he sits on the Mount Kailash. He's got bows and arrows and spears, a trident. And so here it means the arrow which is called the holy or the sacred mantra called Om. You hurl it down. And so you can destroy your ignorance. It is that person is willing, of course, to repeat that mantra. Om, Om. The whole universe has come out. So saying, make that auspicious or Giritra, that's the name of God. Do not injure any person and the world. It's a kind of a to uh, don't hurt us because He is a protector, and it is out of His will that He has created everything. And please take care of us. It's like that. Hurt us in the sense not physically, spiritually. So there's a time when you might go through a long course of spiritual disciplines, and suddenly your mind might get deflected. Mother, Sri Ramakrishna says that mother, she winks and says, go out and enjoy a little. And so you're deflected from the path of knowledge. And then, oh my God, what happened? And then you return. So this is, so don't injure us with that kind of. And you see, mother knows what we really want. There's a time when you must understand you've got to exhaust your karma. You have certain seeds within you that need to be experienced. She might take you through those experiences very quickly. And she goes through that, you go through that, and then you come out. So, like Swami Brahmananda says, she has the key to the knowledge of Brahman. She, and she's come this time as Sharuda Devi. Amazing. I think yesterday's talk, he spoke about the mother asked her, you can say, a sevak. Sevak is a kind of attendant. Ask Raja, that is the Swami Brahmananda, who he thinks mother is. And the moment he heard it, he goes into kind of an ecstasy. I think mother holds a key to the knowledge of Brahman. She is the power of Brahman. So she can take any forms, any form. Our disciple was trying to push a cat away because it was coming to, uh, slurp the milk. They say, don't do that, Gyana, don't do that. I exist in that cat as well. So, yes, so we have this great power that is caring for us. What happens is there is something called God. That's a impersonal God. That's a collection of all personalities. Everything that's universe, that's a God. Then we have something called nature. and we have souls. This is the triad. So, like I have a hand, and the hand can move. Similarly, God has a kind of a limiting adjunct of individual souls and nature. So, there's a difference between God and nature, God and souls, between souls and nature, between one object and another. This is the table, this is the chair. This is you, this is me. There's a differentiation. And between each souls. I'm this, you are that. So all this differentiation she has created. Why? That's the will of mother. You cannot ask her why. Yeah, that's the difficulty. Why did you create all this mess? Where's the mess? There's no mess at all. You see a kind of a mess. And then what happens as we become atomized or as we become individuals? What happens is we try to spread out, do things. Bill would like to paint. Somebody with a guitar would like to play a tune, create a tune. Somebody like to this and that. We spread out. We keep on spreading out. And as we keep on spreading out, we create a kind of a turbulence. We set in motion a wheel. That's the wheel of karma. Keep on. Then you got to reverse that whole thing. Come back, come back, come back. Enough. And after you do that, Sri Ramakrishna had a vision of one time of Maya. He saw a flame in the middle of his room, it's kind of hanging down. And it kept on spreading and spreading and spreading till it covered the whole universe. Yesterday we heard that sage Markandeya, he prayed, show me Maya. And we want to get away from Maya, and this sage is saying, show me Maya. Even the sage Narad is like, show me a Maya. That's a dangerous thing. Even the great men of knowledge, men and women of knowledge, can be deluded in a fraction of a. So Sri Ramakrishna saw one day, he prayed. And there are his disciples also who used to say, come Maya, Sri Ramakrishna praying, come Maya. Hey, one day he saw, he was sitting on the bank of the river, Ganga, and he saw a very beautiful woman emerging out of the Ganga. She walked very steadily and very stately. And as she emerged out of the water, he saw that she was with child. She was pregnant. And then she gives birth to the child. He's watching. And with great tenderness, she is nursing the child. And that beauty was, you know, how do you say it? It's like it moves the whole world. Mother's beauty is like that. And in the next moment, he sees her take that terrible form. She takes that babe and masticates it, chews it, and swallows it. And as that babe is entering into her mouth, it enters into something called a void. And then she goes back from where she came, back in the river. Oh, you prayed for that. So here she gave a kind of a glimpse. Sometimes we live our lives maybe thousands of years, but actually it's just a fraction of it. That's what Narada felt. 12 years have passed in my mind, and you say half an hour, and he lived a part of his life and he thought it was real. So we are, Swami Vivekananda, one of his powerful, you can say, lectures, we are walking in the midst of a haze, half sleeping, half awake. In this twilight, we are saints in this Maya, we are sinners in this Maya, we are sages in this Maya, we are ignorant in this Maya, we are everything, we are devils and we are everything. Saying stretch your ideas as far as you can, call them infinite or by any other name, yet they are within Maya. It is a statement of facts of what you are and what we are. Even thought is Maya. Everything. So day in and day out, we are saying this is the faith of all boasted knowledge, of all boasted philosophy. This is the world of Maya. Oh, welcome. Yes, but Vedanta does not, you know, show that aspect of Maya in the sense of. There was a time when I was going by train in India to a place, and there was a Russian uh, couple, and they had just got into this Hare Rama, Hare Krishna movement, and they saw me and they came, kind of a orange robes. They came. I found, no, I'm a sannyasi. I'm a monk, and he got so annoyed at me. Hey, you are Mayavadin. You are Mayavadin. That is those who hold the doctrine of Maya. So I said, the founder of your sect, Chaitanya, was also a monk. Do you call him a Mayavadin? No, 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 no. He wasn't. Of course, he kept on shouting, and then people, say, "Would you please cut it out?" You're shouting. So I tried to explain that we are Brahmavadins. We uphold the doctrine of reality. Brahma. We don't dwell too much on the Maya aspect because Maya binds you as well as releases you. It's like a silkworm. We spin the cocoon round the threads and we get bound in it. And in that bondage, we develop a consciousness and we emerge out free. So Maya has the aspect of containing you and releasing you. How do you do that? How does it? So you propitiate the Divine Mother like this. Oh, Mother, please look at me. You know, I'm your child. Sri Ramakrishna always says, I'm your little child. Don't scare me with those terrible eyes, with the red terrible eyes. And, you say, oh, Mother, I'm your 5-year-old child. Don't come with those red eyes and terrible face. Come with that benign look and benign. Here it is. So this is the same thing that this sage, he has hoisted out these two verses from the older section of the Vedas and put them here as a kind of. uh, so God can be, Sri Ramakrishna says, when God is far, we see God as blue colored or black colored. It's like looking at the sky or space, we see it's blue color. Space around here does not have any color. Why do you see blue or black? So when God is far away, we see that, and that's the reason why Indian gods and goddesses they've got a kind of bluish tint or a blackish tint. That means you're seeing things which are very far away. As God approaches, then God will approach you with her 12 hands or 10 hands. And as you keep on approaching God and God keeps on approaching you, then she comes with 4 hands as Kali probably, and then comes 2 hands, and then come as a babe. God comes bereft of all majesty and power and this and that, with only love. And that's what the sage yesterday saw. The whole world was covered with water, it was flooded, and he's seen a babe floating on a leaf. That it's a luminous babe. And he goes near that babe, and the babe draws his breath, and he goes in the babe, and he sees the vast universe within. And the babe breathes out, and the sage comes out again, back in the waters. What's happened? When the divine incarnated as Krishna, as a child, children, they pick up clay and they put it in the mouth. There's something. So his mother, foster mother, he cut him. She was extreme. He's hyperactive. Okay. What have you put in your mouth? Take that clay out. And she opens his mouth. As she opens his mouth, she visualizes, she saw the whole universe there. She knew, of course, he was an incarnation. And she sees the whole universe within him. That tells us something, that within you, within each one of us, is the whole of God. It's not, God is not there as a part, He's the whole of it. But this realization will need you to be devoted to that deity. And that's the reason why all these, okay, kind of a, it brings in a kind of a uh, devotional aspect to one's spiritual discipline. Where there is love in spiritual discipline, there the, you can say, the pace picks up. Like, you're meditating, you're chanting, this, that, you're praying also. Day in and day out, kind of a dryness comes in. And then you tend to take it easy. Forget it. But if there's love, then you don't mind going through this routine day in and day out. You do it out of love for God. And that is what. Once you can understand this, what I see is the manifestation of Maya. It's a manifestation of the Divine Mother. Obviously, I'm going to love it. And obviously, I'm going to love myself also and love God also. Yeah, everything becomes transformed, everything becomes precious, everything becomes holy. And that is the correct attitude for a aspirant. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. And what do you like? This is good. This is bad. No. So when everything is suffused with that divine mother, there is no place, there is no danger, there is no anger, there is no hatred. You rise above all these small things and then you find, my God, how she plays. That's why to speak about a divine mother is so difficult. At least for me. I get I get extremely nervous because however much you speak about it, you'll be falling short. And secondly, if she wants, she can blow the whole thing up, but get out. Okay, she can do anything. And say, oh, this universe is 4.5 billion years and it's going to last for another 5 billion years, whatever. He can stop the whole thing now. What are you going to do about it? What I'm going to do about it? Nothing. She is existence. She is the power of Brahman. It is she who is there in all beings. What? In all beings. Here, the next is a Next verse speaks about. We will just uh, read it, and then because we're running out of, they become page 128, please. They become immortal by knowing that God, who is higher than that, who is superior to Hiranyagarbha, who is great, who is hidden in all beings according to their forms, and who is the one all encompassing entity of the universe. So, after the personalized, personal God that the sage was praying to, you come back to the subject matter of the Upanishads. He goes back to the universal form of God,
You said God who is higher than what?
higher than the highest,
All right.
higher than the highest. And we are talking about this Rudra, and higher than that is that God, that impersonal, whose form is this universe.
Higher than Rudra?
Yes,
Oh,
higher than all conceptions of God. Because we need to get beyond all conceptions of God. Whatever conceptions of God we have are all inadequate, are incomplete. And that's the reason why you say, God is only this. Please, don't ever do that. We say He's infinite. At the same time, He is within the covers of this book. How do you account for that? He has spoken one time or two times. How do you account for that? All His knowledge is in the book. Oh, good. Oh, that's nice conception of God. No, you cannot compress God within the pages of the book and whatever He has said is in this. No, it's not that. God is constantly speaking to us. We have our own Bibles and Qurans and Vedas within us. God is there speaking those words. Don't limit God with anything, with one form. Only this form is there. No. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna used to get annoyed. He's saying, he used to use the word iti. God is only so much. No, please don't do that. You should not. And that's what happens when you come down to these Upanishad teachings. They tell you that what you see is a form of God, but even then, the universe does not limit. Tribadascha urdhvam divi. His other forms are even vaster.
and so even if you are devoted to a particular ishta, you bear in mind the whole time that it's just an aspect.
Yes, yes. When you are meditating on Shri Krishna first, you've got to understand that this is my chosen ideal and I am a part of that first. Then this chosen ideal of mine is a part of that universal or cosmic person. And that cosmic person is nothing but a part of that reality, which is beyond name and form. Take for instance, you have the whole Pacific Ocean, and then you just kind of dip your finger in and it gets a little wet. Uh, yeah, you touch the Pacific Ocean, but you never really touch the Pacific Ocean. You just touch a small part of it. But at the same time, yes, you have. So similarly, this whole universe, all this creation that we see, is just a kind of smallest of small part of that whole. The Pacific Ocean is lying down there, and you touch a small part. And we make such a big thing out of this big creation and big life. And even if you look at it from the standpoint of astronomy, where are we? It's some corner of that, some spiral arm of that, some Milky Way, something. And the whole Milky Way is there, this whole galaxy, and there are How many galaxies? Billions and billions and billions and whole thing. Why you make such a big thing out of my existence, my life? Who bothers? So if you start telescoping things down, my God, what's this? And yet I'm a part of this universe. Like you touch that Pacific Ocean. You haven't really touched, but you have in a way touched. So to know God is like this. All these books, all the millions and zillions of books and prayers and all, is just kind of touching God, just like
And is the whole of that infinite reality within you?
yes, yes. It's a tremendous statement. Yes, it's true because you don't realize it as a part. You read the whole thing. So when Mother Yashoda opens Krishna's mouth to check if his mouth is dirty with clay, she sees the whole universe there. Arjuna suddenly he was thinking, he is my friend. He is a great warrior. He's a king. He's not a friend, you know. And suddenly he sees, my God, oh, God, I don't want that. I don't want to see it anymore. I want to see a benign form. That form with those four arms or with two arms. I want you. And please forgive me. We ate together, played together. I thought you were just my friend. Hmm. Whole thing. So within each one of us is that infinity. Yes. I'll end with one small teaching of Ram. Once Ramakrishna was in Dakshineshwar, and during the rainy season, you have grass growing all over the place. So the authorities had asked the people around if you would like to cut this grass and take it away to feed your, you can say cows or sell it or whatever, you're welcome. So there was an old man, quite greedy. He said, "Oh, free!" And he cut so much grass, he bundled it, and it was beyond his capacity to lift it up. And he's trying here and there. And Sri Ramakrishna is looking at him. And he goes into ecstasy, seeing that old man trying to, he's saying, so much knowledge within the Atman is there, and so much foolishness outside. This is the contradiction of Maya. So much luminous knowledge within, and so much foolishness outside. There we are. It's a tremendous. So that luminous knowledge is there within all of us, and so much foolishness is outside us. I don't know how we make out of it.
Um, I think of Sri Ram. I think of Vivekananda